prioritise local participation in planning decisions. And it's lodged by Stuart Noble on behalf of Helensburgh Community Council, who may be with us in the gallery today. The petition calls on the Scottish Parliament to welcome. The petition calls on the Scottish Parliament to urge the Scottish Government to prioritise local participation in planning decisions affecting their area by providing a clear and unambiguous definition of the word local insofar as it applies to planning legislation, giving decision-making powers to community councils for planning applications in their local areas, and ensuring that the way in which decisions and planning applications are taken is compatible with the provisions and ethos of the Community Empowerment Act of 2015. In the background information to the petition, Helensburgh Community Council highlight the example of planning applications affecting Helensburgh being passed despite opposition from the Community Council and a majority of local ward councillors on the Planning Committee. The SPICE briefing, to which I referred a moment ago, sets out the process for determining planning applications, including the requirement for planning authorities to provide community councils with a weekly list of applications for developments in or within their areas. A planning authority must also consult community councils on proposed developments that are likely to affect the amenity of their area. In its response to the petition, the Scottish Government notes the consultation that has taken place on effective community engagement in local development planning guidance, as well as recent amendments introduced through the Planning Scotland Act 2019 to increase the opportunities for individuals and community bodies to engage in the planning process, including by preparing local place plans for their own areas. The Scottish Government have also suggested that extending powers to determine planning applications to community councils would require comprehensive revisions to existing legislation, with the Government not minded to consider such a fundamental change to the planning system at this time. We have received a submission from the petitioner in response to the Scottish Government and expressing concern that references to engagement, I quote, engagement and participation, again in quotes, are simply box-ticking exercises. The petitioner has also clarified that their proposal for providing community councils with decision-making powers in planning decisions would be for a number of community councillors to become members of local authority planning committees with full voting powers to assist in determining planning applications within their area. And we are joined this morning by Jackie Bailey, again in relation to a petition of interest to her community and constituents. And I'm very happy to invite Jackie Bailey to address the committee.
Thank you very much, Convener, and thank you to the committee for the opportunity of speaking this morning. I share many of the petitioners' frustrations, and it is, I think, this petition born out of frustration, given that they have attempted to engage really meaningfully with the planning system within Argyll and Bute, sometimes to little notable effect. And the thing that they noted in the petition, which struck me as entirely useful in terms of context here, is actually Helensburgh is closer to Edinburgh than it is to many other parts of Argyll and Bute. Argyll and Bute, as members will know, being very rural and having something like 20-odd islands that are there as well. So, you know, it's not without its challenges. And what they've experienced is very reasonable suggestions that they've made being considered by committees of councillors who simply do not have any relationship or understanding of the community of Helensburgh. You know, they are often councillors who will represent rural areas, island areas. Helensburgh is predominantly an urban population whose travel to work area is in Greater Glasgow. So there's a different context that exists there. But let me give you some of the examples where the Community Council have engaged, and that engagement has resulted in absolutely nothing happening. And in all of the examples I'm going to give you, the Community Council didn't oppose the application. They suggested a different way of doing it or some conditions that should be applied based on their local knowledge. So in the first case, housing on the former Arden Capel Garden Centre site, the Community Council was very clear that housing could go ahead there, but it was the number of houses that was well in excess of the number specified in the local development plan. So that was a case of, yes, by all means, put houses there, but not in the quantity that they were being squeezed into what was a very tight site. Second example is a care home, which is in the former works depot of Hermitage Park. And again, one of their concerns was the scale of the development, which might have impacted on a war memorial that was right next door to the development. The third example is the leisure centre, which is a beautiful leisure centre, but it's on the pier at Helensburgh on infilled land, which is prone to flooding. And therefore their very eminently sensible suggestion of moving it away from that area was completely dismissed. So the petitions are not proposing that community councils take all of this over, but that their local knowledge is inserted somehow into the planning system so we get better decisions that aren't about stopping development, but are about making sure development is right for the right place in their community. So, I mean, I wonder, I'm sure the committee will have ideas, but writing to the Royal Town Planning Institute might be an option, or indeed Planning Aid, who will have experience of these types of applications. Thank you, Convener.
Thank you, Ms Bailey. So a suggestion to write to the Royal Town Planning Institute. Do colleagues have any other suggestions to make? David Torrance.
Thank you. It was good to see Jackie Bailey back at the committee again. Can I suggest that the committee writes to Royal Town Planning Institute, heads of Planning Scotland, Planning Democracy, Built Environment Forum Scotland and Scottish Forum of Community Councils to seek the views on the actions called for in the petition? And I wonder if the committee would also consider writing to the Scottish Government seeking an update on the progress to finalise the guidance on effective community engagement in the local development planning process.
So I think we have suggestions there. Our committee members agreed. We are agreed. So we'll thank the petitioner. We'll keep the petition open and we will now embark upon our quest to receive further comment and evidence. Thank you very much, Jackie Bailey, as well.